Here is something most people do not think about until it is already happening. The moment your body crosses into its ninth decade, it starts playing by an entirely different set of rules. Rules that nobody bothered to hand you. The 5 biological changes I am about to walk you through are not opinions or theories. They are documented clinical realities, and if you are not adjusting for them right now, you are likely working against your own body without even knowing it. If this sounds like information you want more of, hit subscribe so you never miss a video like this one. My name is Dr. Cedric Loxley, and over more than 2 decades in clinical practice, I have sat across from thousands of older adults who were doing everything right by the standards of their 60s. The problem is, those standards expire. So today, I am giving you an updated playbook. Let us get into it. The first shift is one that genuinely surprises people, even those who have been careful about their health for years. You have probably heard the term sarcopenia before, the gradual loss of muscle that begins in your 30s and quietly accelerates as you age. Most people are aware that muscle loss happens. What most people do not realize is how dramatically the rate changes once you pass 80. Between the ages of 30 and 70, the average person loses somewhere between 3 and 5% of their muscle mass per decade. That is manageable. After 80, that figure can jump to 15% in a single decade. That is not a gradual fade. That is a structural change happening inside your body, whether you feel it or not. I had a patient, let us call him Gerald, who was 82, sharp as a tack, still going on his morning walks every single day. He came in not because he felt unwell, but because his wife noticed he was pushing himself up from chairs with both arms instead of just standing. He had not noticed. That is how quiet this process can be. Gerald was still living by the fitness logic of a 72-year-old, and his body had quietly moved on without telling him. Muscle is not just about strength or appearance. It is your body's metabolic anchor and your skeletal system's first line of defense. When that armor thins significantly, an ordinary stumble over a loose rug becomes something far more serious. Research consistently shows that nearly 30% of seniors who fracture a hip do not survive the following year, not from the fall itself, but from the cascade of complications that follow. Blood clots, infections, prolonged immobility. So what do? 2 things. First, protein intake. Here's the catch most people miss. As you age, your stomach produces less acid and fewer digestive enzymes, so your body cannot extract protein from food the same way it did at 40. A heavy steak dinner that used to fuel your muscles may now pass through without doing much. You need to aim for roughly 1 gram of protein per kilogram of body weight daily, and you want to focus on sources that are easier to absorb: eggs, Greek yogurt, fish, legumes. If you weigh 70 kilograms, you are targeting 70 grams of protein spread across the day. Second, and this is non-negotiable, resistance training. Not a marathon, not 2 hours at the gym. Chair squats, resistance bands, light dumbbells, body weight movements done consistently 2 to 3 times a week. Consistency is everything here. You are not trying to build the physique of a 40-year-old. You are trying to preserve the function that keeps you independent. Now, muscle keeps you moving, but it cannot do much if the system running all of this, your brain, is not firing correctly. That brings us to shift number 2. After 80, your brain naturally begins to process information a little more slowly. This is normal, and it is important to understand what normal actually looks like so you do not panic when it happens. Forgetting a name momentarily is not the beginning of dementia. Think of your brain as a library that has been collecting books for 8 decades. The books are still there, the librarian is just moving at a slightly more deliberate pace. That is normal aging. What is not inevitable but becomes significantly more likely after 85 is clinical cognitive decline. About 1 in 3 people in that age group will experience some form of it. And while genetics play a role, the lifestyle factors are far more within your control than people realize. 2 of the most underestimated culprits are social isolation and poor sleep. Isolation is not just emotionally harmful, it is neurologically harmful. Your brain requires novelty, social challenge, and new input to maintain its connections. When those inputs disappear, the brain begins to consolidate and contract. Meanwhile, poor sleep actively interferes with your brain's internal cleaning system. During deep sleep, your glymphatic system flushes out waste products, including beta-amyloid proteins, the same plaques linked to Alzheimer's disease. Lose the sleep and the waste builds up. It is as simple and as serious as that. The prescription here is not complicated, but it does require intention. Stay socially active. A book club, a weekly card game, a community class, volunteering. It does not matter much what the activity is as long as it involves other people and forces your brain to engage. On the sleep side, if you are regularly waking up exhausted or struggling to stay asleep, do not accept that as just how things are now. Talk to your doctor. There are real solutions, and your brain is worth the conversation. I want to pause here and ask, have you noticed anything shifting with your memory lately? Drop a comment below. And if you have found something that helps you stay sharp, share it. Someone else watching right now might genuinely need that tip. Shift 3 is one where a lot of men in particular get caught off guard, and I will be direct about why. By the time you reach 80, the bone density gap between men and women has largely closed. Women face significant bone loss earlier due to the hormonal changes of menopause. Men tend to decline more gradually, but by 80 the risk is roughly equal, and many men have spent decades assuming osteoporosis was someone else's problem. That assumption can end with a serious injury. What makes this particularly dangerous at this stage is that it is not just about thinning, it is about structural integrity. The internal scaffolding of your bones, known as trabecular bone, can become porous enough that something as routine as a hard sneeze or lifting a grocery bag creates enough force for a spinal compression fracture. And once you have had one fracture, your risk of a second one doubles or triples. Your action steps are concrete. Get a bone density scan if you have not had one recently. This is not optional at 80, it is basic maintenance. Work with your doctor to ensure you are getting adequate calcium and vitamin D. Most people over 80 need at least 200 milligrams of calcium daily and between 800 and 1,000 international units of vitamin D, though many are running deficient and need more. And do not underestimate the value of weight-bearing movement. Even walking around your kitchen for 5 minutes every hour sends a signal to your bones to maintain their density. Every step is literally a mechanical instruction your skeleton receives. Now, even with strong bones and healthy muscle, there is still one scenario that sends more 80-year-olds to the emergency room than almost anything else. And it involves 3 systems failing at the same time. This is Shift 4, and it is the one I want you to take most seriously. Your sense of balance relies on 3 inputs working together: the vestibular system in your inner ear, proprioception, your feet's ability to sense the ground beneath them, and vision. After 80, all 3 of these systems tend to weaken simultaneously. Your inner ear becomes less sensitive, your feet lose some of their tactile feedback, and vision issues like cataracts or macular degeneration reduce the visual anchoring your brain relies on. When those 3 systems all falter at once, the risk of a fall stops being theoretical and becomes a statistical reality. There is also something I call the pride trap, and I have seen it cause real harm. Patients who refuse to use a cane or walker because they feel it signals weakness. I understand the feeling. But here is the honest truth. A walking aid is not an admission of decline. It is a practical tool that expands your world rather than limiting it. It is the difference between attending your grandchild's graduation and watching it from a phone screen in a recovery facility. If you feel unsteady, the conversation with your doctor about walking aids and a full medication review is one of the most important ones you can have. Many common medications, particularly those for blood pressure and anxiety, can cause orthostatic hypotension, a sudden drop in blood pressure when you stand up that can trigger blackouts and falls. For your balance specifically, look into Tai Chi or yoga adapted for seniors and practice the heel-to-toe walk. Stand near a hallway wall, place one foot directly in front of the other, and walk in a straight line. It sounds simple because it is, but done regularly, it trains your brain to compensate more effectively for the inputs it has lost. And finally, we need to talk about the system working around the clock inside your body that most people completely overlook until something goes wrong. Your immune system. After 80 years of continuous operation, your immune system is, there is no other way to put it, tired. Your white blood cells respond more slowly to unfamiliar threats. A flu virus that your immune system would have contained in a week at 50 can now spiral into something far more serious. A urinary tract infection that might have been an inconvenience at 65 can cause delirium and systemic complications at 85. This process has a name, immunosenescence. And while you cannot stop it entirely, you have significant influence over how fast it progresses. 2 often overlooked factors are chronic stress and grief. Both actively suppress T-cell production, essentially reducing your standing army. And conversely, research has shown that laughter and positive social interaction actually boost the activity of natural killer cells. the ones that go after viruses and early-stage cancer cells. That is not a metaphor. That is clinical data suggesting your emotional life has measurable biological consequences. Practically speaking, focus on getting a variety of micronutrients. Vitamin C, zinc, and selenium are particularly important for immune function. Make sure your vaccinations are current. The annual flu shot, pneumonia, and shingles vaccines become more important, not less, as you age. Even a partial immune response from a vaccine is dramatically better than none. And keep moving. Moderate daily activity, a walk, gentle stretching, keeps immune cells circulating and helps suppress the chronic low-grade inflammation that accelerates aging. Here is where I want to bring everything together, because this is the part that matters most. Turning 80 is not a countdown. The 5 shifts we have covered, accelerating muscle loss, slower cognitive processing, declining bone integrity, compromised balance, and a less responsive immune system, these will happen to some degree. That is the honest, clinical truth. But the severity of each one and the speed at which they progress is far more within your control than most people realize. I have patients in their 90s who are genuinely thriving, not because they won the genetic lottery, but because they made deliberate choices. They treated their daily habits as health decisions, not just preferences. You are not a passive observer of your own aging. You are the one making choices every single day that either accelerate or slow these processes. The protein you eat, the movement you do, the people you spend time with, the sleep you protect, all of it compounds. Think of it less like a cliff and more like a long marathon with very specific pit stops. The people who plan for the pit stops are the ones who finish strong. If you want to keep receiving information like this, now is a good time to subscribe and hit the notification bell so these updates reach you. Your future self will appreciate it. Now, before you go, here is a quick, honest self-assessment you can do right now without leaving your seat. Find a chair or kitchen counter you can hold for safety. Try to stand on one leg for 10 seconds. If you can do it comfortably, your balance systems are holding up well. If you wobble or need to put your foot down before 10 seconds, that is not a reason to panic. It is useful information, and it is your cue to start the balance work we talked about today. Drop your result in the comments. I check them, and I will be there to respond. And while you are there, share your age and the one health concern that is genuinely on your mind right now. Is it memory? Is it your bones? Your energy levels? The more specific you are, the more I can tailor what I cover next. One final note, everything in this video is meant to support your health journey, not replace the advice of your personal physician. If you have kidney disease, heart failure, or significant joint problems, please speak with your doctor before making changes to your diet or exercise routine. That is not a disclaimer. That is just good medicine. I am Dr. Cedric Loxley. Take care of yourself, and I will see you in the next one.